Good day, everyone. Thanks for being here in this session. And first, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands where I am presenting today, the Kumbumeri people of the Ugambia language group, as I present this paper in my bedroom on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia. I am lucky to be here in Australia, although I feel a bit of a guilt because the situation here is a bit better than many other parts of the world. My family is in the Philippines, and of course, the situation is worse there. But what also saddens me is the situation of musicians in my home country. So, because the COVID-19 pandemic has really affected the music industry and its related industries. Some are still suffering the consequences of such. Well, some are still trying to adapt with various means that they can do. The future of live music is still really uncertain, and the dynamics of the music industries have definitely been shaken, tested, and consequently has seen changes in various forms. Hence, online performance has become visible practice in the industry right now, and this is because of the inability of artists, especially during the pandemic, to play in live music settings. Both established and amateur musicians do this because it's also a way for them to cope with whatever things are happening right now in relation to the music industry. And it's not only the artists but also the audiences. However, there are also some sociological issues that we need to address and discuss, which warrant further investigation, especially the implication of this contemporary music practice to both the industry and the individual performers. So I ask, what problems can independent artists encounter when doing online performances in social media? And what does COVID-19 have to do with it? And what are the implications of these experiences and narratives about um, the music performance, music industry, and society as a whole? So, to answer these questions, of course, I present a reflexive analysis of online performances, but I know many of you are familiar with autoethnography, and some are even better than I do. But I won't be discussing this in detail. Instead, I just want to emphasize that by writing my own account of online performances, I attempt to extend my sociological imagination to the study of social reality of musicians, or realities instead, of musicians who are currently being subjected to the difficulties brought about by the pandemic. And this is also in response to the limited number of autoethnographic writings in this field, as we need to recognize various experiences and realities. But if you know more literature on this, I'd appreciate if you could share it to us here. So, um, when I say online performances, these are performances by musicians in front of camera, this, and live streamed on social media, mostly on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. There's also some on TikTok or Twitch. Some are in Kumu or Sessions Live, which allow the artists to earn money through likes and all those stuff. But in this paper, I focus on social media because these are the most popular, and these are the stuff that I've used as well during the time, and still using it. Yes, live stream gigs can be a live performance, which means performed in real time, or recorded, pre-recorded. That is, it has been recorded prior to the performance. In this paper, I'm talking about the real-time live streaming. So we need a lot of things when doing online performance on social media. So in doing live stream, we need equipment, we need programs, we need space, and of course the performer, the person as a performer For the equipment, we need live audio and video equipment from mobile phone to the actual studio or stage. Some will use DSLRs or professional cameras. For the audio, you need the microphone like this, for instance. And for the instrument, you need a sort of audio interface that will connect your electric instruments going um, to the computer, which will uh, convert the signal to from analog to digital signal. And of course, there are also some programs that you need to have, such as OBS or Streamlabs or the digital audio workstations. Um, these are free or some are paid as well. And you need performance space, of course. And some people would just go on and do it in their bedroom, or some have access to studio or stage as well. But lastly, of course, the performer, because it's not only his or her body that and identity as a performer that is shown, but it's also the mindset that's needed to do this kind of performance. So, in presenting the anatomy of online performance alone, several sociological issues can be seen. Right? So, first, the equity of access to various equipment and technology, and how this inequity or equity affect the performance and performativity of the musicians. Second, the home becomes the stage and therefore opens a new concept of openness in relation to the intimacy between public and private spaces, as well as place making. So while others have access to studio or stages, such differences are also notable. Lastly, the individual experience. Each user may have different experience or circumstances when doing live streams. And then these circumstances and experiences determine how the performer navigate the complexities or even opportunities in such cases. To explain this further, I present three themes that I found in my autoethnographic study. First, personal constraints. So for me, whenever I go on stage, there's of course the anxiety. I've been performing for around 15 years on and off, different capacities, different venues, different experiences and audiences. But there's always this blur of anxiety and thrill. But this is not peculiar to online performances. We experience, however, a transmediated anxiety from the front to back end of aspects of live streaming. So this might be experienced on the physical stage, but there is another layer of uncertainty among independent artists when doing live performances. One of the biggest concerns here is the presence of an audience, for instance, which is seen through metrics and the consciousness of delivering good performance. So, since being one of the biggest indicators of musician success, the audience is an important determinant of who and what popular music is, of course. Yeah. So, however, unlike a stage play or physical live music performance, audience on social media come and go, which may leave the performer asking, "Am I good enough?" And these vulnerabilities show as well in the performances. So, as you can see in one of my live stream performances, I'm even conscious of whatever I'm seeing and I'm showing on social media during this live performance at Radio 4 EB in Brisbane. But with the proliferation and need to do online performances, there is also the need for musicians to have the necessary equipment and programs, which I've mentioned a while back. Many musicians are compelled then to learn and to use such technology. However, not all musicians have the equal capacity and resources to have these things. So the accessibility and effectiveness of the resources such as equipment and internet become inequitable because of these differences in the circumstances of people. Like you can see in this photo here, the diagram, it shows that some live streamers are even using multiple cameras, and those who cannot afford that could suffer. The quality of the video could suffer as well. um, Aside from the equipment, access to social media and internet, especially in the Philippines, is these are limited resources there. Most of them are using only the prepaid system or data dependent use. So they'd rather use it for other things rather than watching or making live stream videos. So this may also be um, the reason why there are few audience when doing live performance, especially for independent artists. Well, for popular artists and known artists, that's not a problem to them. But for independent and amateur artists, these are the things that we need to note. And of course, most online performances aim to simulate and replicate, if possible, the live music performance pre-COVID. For me, after doing a few online gigs, my reflections then are not only on my own, but also it resonates with many musicians who are trying to get their performances to be transitioned, at least temporarily, from the physical stage to the online platforms. So the issues discussed here do not only concern me, but these are also experienced by other independent and amateur musicians. And these include uncertainties and vulnerabilities that are seen, as well as risks seen in the gig economy. So this may include infrastructure, even mental stress, and performativities. So, as we often hear, can you hear me? Are we live yet? These are the indications of these uncertainties and vulnerabilities, which also affect our well-being. So we always, musicians always try to live up to the expectations of either themselves or the audience. So these things also become um, these things are affecting the authenticity and of course the delivery and quality of the live performances. So because these are built upon musical processes that involves performative constraints brought about by personal and social circumstances and contexts of the musicians. So, um, in conclusion, although it undeniably offers opportunities, online performances on social media do not completely provide, nor do they embody a level playing field because of the imbalances they facilitate in terms of access and the musician's agency to do these things because of the structural inequalities. While it is possible to be involved in a more open performative space in environment, musicians are subjected to compromises such as quality, time, human resources. And these inequalities and inequities also affect the music and the music industry as a whole. So simply put, musicians need not only musical and cultural capital, but also technological capital, which are needed to successfully conduct live streaming. And with understanding these sociological inequalities and opportunities and resources, then of course vulnerabilities and uncertainties, we hopefully could address the problem brought about not only by the live streaming environment, but also by the pandemic. Thank you very much for listening.